Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 258. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle, and welcome back to this week's episode. This week's episode is about mediumship. I found myself in a mediumship practice circle, and I learned a lot of stuff about circles and also about practicing and how the message can come through. So especially because I've been hosting monthly mediumship practice circles now for over a year, I think this will be helpful for anyone practicing, and also it's a good story about how information landed. So we're going to be talking about that today. I received a new oracle deck from one of my clients. It's the Shaman's Dream Oracle, and I'm really excited to try it out, but I haven't opened it yet or heard my juju on it yet, so I'm not going to use it for this podcast episode, but I will be trying out a new deck soon. I posted on Instagram about a quote that I heard a long, long time ago, and I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or I don't know if this is true, but I heard that tarot has to find you, so your first deck should be gifted, and you're technically not supposed to buy a deck until your first deck is gifted. And I remember waiting for someone to finally gift me a deck. And I was wondering if the same is true about oracle cards. I've never heard it for oracle cards, but again, I'm not sure if it's just an old wives' tale. So go check me out on Instagram or on TikTok, Medium in the Middle, and let me know your thoughts on if you should be gifted your first deck of cards. So today's podcast episode is for all developing mediums and all mediums in general, because it was a cool, intuitive hit, and then also me ending up in a practice circle. I haven't been in a practice circle for years, so I was like, oh, this is fun, and it'll be a good podcast episode. So you guys have heard me say a million times, when you're a developing medium, you need to practice some more. You should be aiming to get 2 to 3 or more practices a week. So lots and lots of practice. So when I was practicing years ago, I joined like every possible Facebook group I could, and you can just search Facebook groups and there'll be practicing medium ones. I don't even know which one this is from because it's one of those things that just pops up on my feed. So I see the requests for sitters often, like people will post about it and it'll post up on my feed. And this time it was a Facebook group where they were just asking for sitters. So you didn't have to read, they just needed someone to sit. And I had been in this Facebook group for a while. And back in 2011, I actually saw a Facebook post where they were asking for sitters. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And when I see these posts, it's usually like, can you sit right now? So I saw one in 2011 and I was like, yeah, I can sit. So I went in, and it must have been a development group because there was like, say, 10 mediums and then there was 10 sitters, and we got all mixed up. So we got put in a breakout room, and he was like, okay, 5 minutes, it's going to be a psychic reading. And then we'd all come back together, and then you'd go with another partner, and he'd be like, okay, this time I want you to do mediumship. And then we'd go, but it was always like one person was it was Anthony Maraca's group. So it was probably like Anthony Maraca's mentorship students, and we were all just like sitting there receiving readings for an hour. And it was really fun. And I was like, oh wow, he's only giving them 5 minutes. So when I saw that post in 2011, I knew, I was like, oh, I'm going to be chosen for this. And I was like, yeah, I'm available right now. And I was chosen for it. So this happened again where, like, again, I see it on my Facebook all the time. Can you do a sitter? Can you do a sitter? And this time I saw Anthony Maraca post. And if you don't know who he is, he's like a medium from the States. He's pretty famous, I would say. But yeah, you can go check him out. I like his vibe. He's very like straightforward, straight to the chase. I really like his stuff. So, anyways, I saw him post that he needed sitters for a practice circle, and I was like, oh, I just finished work. I have an hour. Like, yeah, I could do that. So I put my name down, and sure enough, I get a Facebook message from him being like, can you join right now? And I was like, literally, yes, I'm sitting on my computer. So he was like, okay, he sent me the link. And again, I must have been in like his mentorship group because this time it was mentees being like paired together, and then he was like 5-minute reading, 5-minute reading, or 10-minute reading, 10-minute reading each. But he kind of told the group like, hey, we just have Stephanie here. If anyone gets Stephanie, then you get the whole time reading her. So it's not 5 minutes, 5 minutes. It would be like you're reading her for 10 minutes. And I didn't want to say like, oh, I'm a medium, like I could take a turn. I was like, I really don't want to take a turn. I'm kind of like just finished work. I was just happy to like sit there and be read because last time it was really fun. It was like psychic readings, angel readings, mediumship readings. It was kind of like a mixed bag of stuff. So I was like, oh, didn't really come here to work, but I could be a sitter. So again, I haven't been in a practice circle in a long time. I really don't need practice anymore, but it was really interesting being in a practice circle because I was like, oh, I run practice circles. Like, how do other people run practice circles? So he gave us like a theme and he gave us a lot of like good instructions that I really liked. And he also told us how many things he wanted. So he'd be like, this time I want you to get 3 hobbies. This time I want you to get it. What he's like, 1 isn't enough. Like, I liked that he was really strict about some things. So then I started getting all excited because I was like, well, these are really great ideas. And I was like, pushing people to get 3 hobbies, not 1 hobby, 3 memories, not 1 memory. So I get put in with my first partner and she's like, okay, I guess I have to read for 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah. And then she started. I didn't say anything because I was like, I don't know if I want to read yet. So she started to get some information. And she was doing pretty good, like she's coming slow, but it was coming. And I instantly started thinking of my mentees and how they feel when they're sitting there. And again, I host these groups, so seeing someone sit there, struggling or trying, it was like so cute and so beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so nice. So anyway, so she started reading me, and right away, I started seeing like a woman on her mom's side. It was either her mom or her grandma, and she was breaking bread, and I started to see 3 girls, and I just started to like write it all down, all the information that I was getting, and I was like, you know what? My plan is she has 10 minutes. So if she like stops getting information or she starts to struggle around, minute 6 or 7, I'll just tell her I'm also a medium and ask her if she wants some messages back. So this was what I was thinking in my head while she was reading me. And sure enough, around like the 5-6 minute mark, she was like not getting anything more. So I was like, hey, like I know I'm just a sitter, but I'm actually also a medium. Like, do you want me to read for you? And she was like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, that's great. Go ahead. Like, because she's like, I'm not getting anything else. And I was like, okay, great. And I was like, so I have this woman here, and she's either your mom or your grandma, and she wants to talk about bread. I feel like that was one of her hobbies. And there's 3 girls. So where are the 3 girls? Anyways, it ended up being her grandma, and her mom was one of 3 girls. And she was saying that her grandma had this bread recipe, and she was really upset that she lost the bread recipe. And she was very, very happy to talk about this recipe. And I said to her, and this is like a very generic, but I was like, I know this is very generic, but she's telling me that the white powder stuff is a wrong amount. So I don't know if that's the baking powder. I don't know if that's flour. I don't know. But I was like, there is a wrong amount of something that you're putting in, and that's what she's telling me. But I can't tell if it's like the baking powder, the baking soda, but it's a white powder. And then I got the name Richard. I was like, oh, I'm getting an R name like Richard. Is that anyone for you? And she was like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, okay. And I'm also hearing like the letter, like the first letter being important and being doubled. So like the name of something is like Richard Robbins, or like there's like a double name here where it's like the same, like Steph's Spot. Something's named with SS, or I didn't know the letter, but I just knew it was like doubled. She's like, no, that's not for me. And I was like, okay, like no problem. And then our time was up, so we were done. And while we were sitting there again, I was looking at my notes, and I was like, I heard Richard so clearly, like like I heard Richard so clearly. I have a dad named Richard. Like this is it for sure. And the Richard Robbins or Steph Spot like kept repeating. Like there's a repeating name here, a name of something. It's not someone's name, it's something's name. So whatever, I get put in another group with someone else. And same thing, it's another woman, and she went first because she's like, oh, I have to read for 10 minutes for you. And I was like, yeah. And same thing, I thought in my head, if she starts to struggle, I'll tell her. But if she can go for 10 minutes, like, that's great. I'm just supposed to be here as a sitter. So same thing, she started, and it was not bad. I didn't really connect to the person that she was connecting to. I could tell that she was having a hard time. But same thing, I'm like, I know it's hard for mentees, so I'm like racking my brain thinking like, does my dad have any friends with this name? Does my grandpa maybe had any friends of this name? And I was like, whoever she's picking up on, I don't know. Like, and I don't even know that I know them. So it might be like my dad's friend or my grandpa's friend or... Anyways, I wrote down all this information, and same thing around like the 5-minute mark. She was like, I'm not getting much more. So I was like, okay, well, I'm also a medium, so I could read for you if you want. And she was like, oh yeah, great. Anyways, and I was like, well, in the last reading, I had the name Richard, and very strong that it was a dad. And she was like, oh yeah, Richard's my dad. And I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And I was like, and I'm also hearing like the name of something that has like two, like a repeating letter, like Steph Spot or Richard Robbins or, something. And she was like, oh yeah, her business's name was something with a C. It was like Claire's Closet or something like that. And this time we had a new prompt where we had to ask Spirit what they wanted to talk about and not use our own minds about what we wanted to talk about. And I thought that was a really good prompt because sometimes we go in as mediums, we want to know how tall are you and what do you look like and how did you die and show me a memory and show me this and give me evidence and did you wear glasses and what did your face look like and how long ago did you pass and how old were you when you passed? And he was like, those are all things that we want as mediums, but like let Spirit decide what they want to talk about. So I was like, okay. Right away, I was like, your dad wants to talk about money. I was like, he wants to talk about saving money, managing money. Like he only wants to talk about money right now. And my throat is really hurting. So I feel like you're having a hard time talking about money or like things are not going well with money, but like there's this money conversation. And she's like, yep. And then it was about her business, the Steph Spot or whatever her name was. And then I started to see, I was so proud of this piece of information. So my favorite old car is a Chevelle SS. And I think in 1972, they started making it with only one headlight, but all the ones younger than 1972 have two headlights. So I started to see this very specific Chevelle SS, but with one headlight. And I said, I'm seeing a black Chevelle. Like, I'm seeing, like, a black old car. Maybe Chevelle is my reference because I like Chevelles. I was like, but I'm seeing a black Chevelle. And she was like, yeah, my dad had a Chevelle. And I was like, ooh. And I was, like, literally in my head, I was like, I still got it. Like, go medium in the middle. You just called out the type of car. Like, come on. And that's literally the only old car I know. Like, I don't know any other old car. I just, when I was younger, we used to go to these car shows, and I used to love the Chevelles, and I used to look at them all the time. And there was a Chevelle that was for sale by my grandma's house. Anyway, so I have like a lot of references for Chevelles. She was like, yeah, my dad used to drive a Chevelle. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, I'm seeing a black car. And she's like, well, I have two black cars. And I was like, okay, so the black car is for you. The Chevelle is for him. And I was like, and where's the green? Who has a green car? And then she's like, oh, my dad had the green Chevelle. And she said, I have the black cars. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'm a little mixed up here. You have the black car. Your dad has the green Chevelles. Got it. And again, I was like, just got both of the colors for you and your dad. Like, go medium in the middle. Anyways, and then I started to see like two circles, and I didn't know what they were. And I was like, are they showing me the headlights on the Chevelles? Like, are they showing me that it was an older Chevelle with the two headlights? I'm not sure. But she was like, no, I think those are tires. She's like, I have a very fond memory of me and my dad, like, changing tires on the car. Like, we bonded over the cars. So, like, the black car and the green car are relevant. And I was like, okay, it's all making sense. And I was like, your dad's name is Richard. Your business is, like, Connie's Corner or something like that. I was like, the name with the double letter. And it was just like so fun to just, number one, be thrown into this group unexpectedly after work. Number two, be thrown in with two partners and like no prep, no nothing, no breathing, no meditating, no preparing. Like I wasn't even turned on. I just, as soon as the person popped up, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll read for you. And then to get like so much specific information, it was just cool because I haven't done that in a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm good. Like I still got it. And again, like comparing my readings to someone who's practicing, I watched them sit there and struggle, and I watched them try to piece the information. Like, again, I teach this stuff so I could see what they were doing. And I was trying not to be like, let me help you with this. I was like, my job is to just sit here and be a sitter. But it was such a fun experience. And I was like over the moon after that. And I was just thinking like, wow, that was so fun. And I didn't realize that it had been 4 years since I had been in a mediumship practice circle. Because, yeah, the last time was in 2021. And it was really cool the way the dad came through, especially when he was like talking about money and he wanted to talk about managing money and he wanted to talk about her business and he wanted to talk about moving money from here to there. And my ears were ringing and I'm like, you've been talking about your dad and you've been thinking about your dad with money and with business. And it was just like, she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was so cool. It was just such a beautiful experience. And I was like, wow, spirit is amazing. And also I think it's so cool that the R name and Richard and the double letter like CC, Connie's Corner, Steph's Spot came through in the first reading and it didn't match for her. And then it came through for the second person. And again, I know how these things work. I literally just like, when I put people in breakout rooms, I'm just like, tick, 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 you go with you, you go with you. Like it's not prearranged. I don't even think about it. I just click, 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 click. There's like half a second. And for spirit to know where you're going to be in the next room and that information is going to click still blows my mind. It happens in my circles like very often where people are like, oh, this information didn't work for the first person, but it fit for the second person. And I'm always like, that is so crazy because I literally put you in there randomly with half a second of thought. And for spirit to know where you're going to end up, like that will always blow my mind. So if you are interested in joining my monthly mediumship practice circles, I am doing one on Thursday, March 27th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I try to do an evening one once in a while, so if the morning doesn't work for you, also for all my Australian listeners, it won't be at 4 in the morning for you. 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I think, is 1-ish p.m. for you. And then there will be another one at 11 a.m. on Saturday, April 19th. The April Reiki trainings are out. I will leave all the links and the dates down below for you if you are waiting for Reiki Level 1 or Reiki Level 2. And my spring mentorship program will be opening on March 20th to the public. It opened to the waitlist today, and it'll open to everybody on the 20th. We will work together from April to July. It is my one-on-one mentorship program called Mentees in the Middle. You get 6 calls over 12 weeks, and I love to work with people who are developing in Reiki, developing their mediumship, or are building or growing a small business. Those are my specialties, but there is an application form just to make sure that I can help you and we're the right fit. Sometimes I get applications that are not in Reiki, mediumship, or business development, and I'm just like, ooh, no, you know what? This will be fun. I would love to work with you. Once I worked with a consultant. She worked for NASCAR, and she sold the advertisements that go on the cars, and she hired me because she just said, I really like your business sense. You know nothing about my industry, but it might actually work out well because you know nothing about my industry. And it worked out really well because I was like, hey, would something like this work? And she was like, actually, yeah. Or like, hey, could you actually do this? And she was like, oh yeah, actually I could. So the application is there just to make sure that I think we're a good fit and that I can actually help you. We will start in April and we will work together through to July. So if you're interested in the mentorship program, I will leave it linked down below with all the information. It's called Mentees in the Middle. Applications will be open on the 20th. There's only 12 spots available. But that's all I have for you this week. Please subscribe. I release new episodes every Wednesday, and I would love a rating and a review wherever you are listening. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.